Have you ever noticed how in the morning, after a long night, your whole body seems to ache with fatigue? Does your joints ache, your skin feels dry, as if you've just returned from the desert, and your head feels like it's stuffed with cotton? And you drink coffee, drink water, take vitamins, but the feeling of exhaustion does not go away. I've been through this myself, especially after moving to Arizona, where the dry air and heat do their dirty work. And you know what's amazing? One of the simplest, most ancient, and at the same time underestimated solutions turned out to be ordinary sea salt. Not the kind sold in plastic containers at the Costco checkout, but the real one, unpeeled, with minerals, with history, with the power of the ocean. Today I want to tell you not just about another salt, but about how this natural mineral can become your ally in daily health care. By the end of this video, you will learn how sea salt differs from table salt, why it was valued in ancient Egypt, how it affects your body, and most importantly, how to use it wisely, without harm to your health. Don't worry, this is not another miracle product from Insta. This is just an honest conversation about one of the most accessible and powerful natural resources, which unfortunately is often confused with ordinary salt from the supermarket. If you are familiar with questions like, what is the difference between sea salt and table salt? Why does everyone say that salt is harmful, but at the same time recommend sea salt? Or, can my energy, sleep, and even mood really depend on plain salt? You have come to the right place. And yes, by the end of the video, you will get specific, proven ways to use sea salt, not only in food, but also for skincare, joints, and even breathing. In the meantime, let's figure out what's really behind this name. Sea salt is not just salt from the sea. This is the result of the slow evaporation of seawater under the sun and wind, often hand-picked and almost untreated. Unlike table salt, which is subjected to intensive purification, high-temperature treatment, and added anticoagulants, for example, sodium ferrocyanide, sounds creepy, doesn't it? Sea salt retains dozens of natural minerals: magnesium, potassium, calcium, zinc, iodine, manganese, and even traces of iron. These trace elements not only give salt its characteristic grayish, pinkish, or even bluish hue, but also make it biologically active. Interesting fact: in ancient Egypt, sea salt was used not only for preserving food, but also in ritual ablutions. It was believed that it cleanses the body and spirit. In the Roman Empire, salt was so valuable that it was even used as a means of payment. Hence the expression "not worth a penny," because the grotto was a coin, and salt was a currency. In medieval Europe, salt routes were more important than roads, and control over them determined the wealth of kingdoms. But today, in the world of ultra-processed foods and hyper-pure healthy diets, we have lost touch with this ancient element. It's important to understand that when nutritionists or doctors say reduce salt intake, they usually mean table salt, almost pure sodium chloride, devoid of everything that makes salt useful. And sea salt is a completely different story. Yes, it also contains sodium, but in a balanced proportion with other minerals, which allows the body to absorb it more gently and efficiently. For example, the magnesium found in sea salt helps regulate sodium levels in cells and prevents fluid retention, the same puffy feeling that many associate with salt. In one study conducted by the U.S. National Institutes of Health, scientists compared the effects of table salt and sea salt on blood pressure in groups of people with pre-hypertension. It turned out that with the same amount of sodium, the participants who received sea salt showed better cell hydration and fewer pressure surges, probably due to the presence of potassium and magnesium. This does not mean that you can eat salt with spoons, but it does mean that the quality of salt matters no less than the quantity. Another important detail: hydration. Many of us drink a lot of water, but still feel thirsty or tired. Why? Because water without electrolytes is like a car without oil. It's there, but the system doesn't work the way it should. Electrolytes are minerals with an electric charge, such as sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. They regulate the water balance, transmission of nerve impulses, and muscle function. And sea salt is one of the most natural sources of these electrolytes. This is especially true for those who live in hot states: Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, where sweating is increased. Or for those who are actively involved in sports, even if it's just a morning walk with the dog or yoga in the garage. Without enough electrolytes, water simply transits without deeply hydrating the cells. That's why adding a pinch of sea salt to a glass of water in the morning can give you more energy than a cup of coffee. I stopped drinking naked water myself after reading the research of Dr. Zahir Padi, a doctor from Texas who has been studying the effects of electrolytes on aging for many years. He says, water without minerals is a void. It can even leach minerals from tissues. It sounds paradoxical, but it is confirmed by physiology. And now, a little personal. When I moved to Phoenix, I started having night cramps in my calves. I thought, probably the age, or not enough potassium. I took bananas, supplements, but the cramps didn't go away. Then a friend who works as a masseuse and knows a lot about the body said, "Try sea salt. The real one. Not the one at Trader Joe's with flavors." I bought coarse gray sea salt from Brittany. This is a region in France where it has been harvested by hand for 1200 years. Began to add a pinch to the water in the morning, and after 3 days the cramps disappeared. Not because it's magic, but because the electrolyte balance has been restored. It's not a joke, it's body chemistry, and I'm not the only one. In the comments to my past videos, dozens of people wrote, "I had the same thing. I thought it was arthritis. After the salt, my back stopped hurting." It's not a panacea, but it's a powerful tool, if used consciously. And here's what's important, not all the sea salt on the store shelf is real. There is no strict regulation of the term sea salt in the USA. It can be just salt extracted from the sea, but then heavily refined, bleached, with additives. Therefore, read the composition. Real sea salt should contain only one word, sea salt. Sometimes it's unrefined sea salt. The color can be gray, beige, pink, but not snow white, like sugar. Grains are uneven, sometimes even slightly moist. This is a sign of the preservation of natural moisture and minerals. If it says enriched with iodine on the package, this is a signal. This is no longer a pure product. Iodine is added artificially, and there is too much of it in table salt, which can disrupt the functioning of the thyroid gland in sensitive people. Real sea salt contains iodine naturally, in microdoses, in balance with other elements. Another myth is that salt raises blood pressure, but honestly, this is a simplification. Yes, excess sodium can increase blood pressure, especially in people with a genetic predisposition. But the key word here is excess. Americans on average consume about 3,400 milligrams of sodium per day, which is almost 1.5 times the recommended norm of the CDC, which is 2,300 milligrams, and even less for people with hypertension. But, 75% of this sodium comes from processed foods, things like chips, sausages, sauces, frozen pizza, and even bread, not from the salt shaker in the kitchen. If you cook at home and use sea salt in moderation, you're really able to control the dose. And, more importantly, you get not only sodium, but also magnesium, which helps blood vessels relax. Research published in the journal Hypertension shows that the ratio of sodium to potassium in the diet is actually more important than the absolute amount of sodium. And sea salt contains both, unlike table salt. Speaking of taste, sea salt is not just salty, it actually has depth. Some varieties have a slight bitterness, minerality, and even a sweet aftertaste. When you start cooking with it, you notice that you need less food, because the taste just becomes brighter and richer. This is especially valuable at the age of 40+, when taste buds begin to dull and we instinctively add more salt, sugar, and sauces. But with sea salt, you get that sense of satisfaction faster, and without harm. For example, I stopped using soy sauce and ketchup. Now I just sprinkle the dish with sea salt at the end of cooking. It's not only tastier, but also healthier. And let's talk about the skin. Many people know that salt baths relax, but not everyone understands why. The fact is, the minerals of sea salt, especially magnesium, penetrate through the skin and have an anti-inflammatory effect. For eczema, psoriasis, and even insect bites, a warm bath with sea salt can reduce itching and irritation. In the USA, by the way, it's used in spas, but you can repeat it at home for just pennies. This is especially true for those who suffer from dry skin in winter in the northern states of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Humidity drops to 20%, the skin cracks, and a salt bath is like a wet compress from the inside. It's not for nothing that the Dead Sea, where the salinity is 10 times higher than in the ocean, has been considered a therapeutic place for thousands of years. But remember, everything is in balance. No one calls for eating salt in kilograms. But ignoring it means depriving the body of one of the key regulators of homeostasis. I've seen people avoid salt for years, fearing pressure, and at the same time suffer from fatigue, cramps, and anxiety, because their body screamed for lack of electrolytes. And all they needed was a pinch of real sea salt in a glass of water in the morning. You already know that sea salt is not just a seasoning, but a source of vital minerals. But how can this knowledge be translated into everyday practice? How can you not just buy a jar labeled sea salt, but really incorporate it into your life so that you feel the difference? Today, I will share with you the proven methods that I use myself, and which are recommended by my friends naturopaths, therapists, and even dermatologists from the USA. All this is done without complicated procedures, expensive devices, and squeezing juices from cacti. Just honest, affordable methods, proven by time and experience. And most importantly, they are safe. Because even good things, if used incorrectly, can do harm. So let's start with the foundation itself, with water. One of the simplest and most powerful methods is mineralized water with sea salt. I call it water with salt, but it's actually a hydration drink that balances electrolytes. The recipe is extremely simple. In a glass of warm, not hot filtered water, add a pinch of unrefined sea salt, about 1/8 teaspoon. Stir until completely dissolved. Drink it on an empty stomach, 20 to 30 minutes before breakfast. Why in the morning? Because during the night the body loses water and minerals through breathing and perspiration. And the first thing he gets in the morning sets the tone for the whole day. If it is naked water, it can even exacerbate the imbalance. And if it's water with salt, you start a gentle hydration process. Many of my friends in California, where the morning air is dry, say that after this drink, the feeling of cotton wool in the head disappears. And one of my friends from New York, who is over 50, noticed that he stopped waking up at night with thirst. Important: don't overdo it. If you feel a salty taste, that's fine. But if the water seems too salty, reduce the dose. The idea is not to drink brine, but to replenish trace elements at the cellular level. And yes, if you have a diagnosis of hypertension or are on diuretics, be sure to consult your doctor. But for most healthy adults, it's absolutely safe. Now it's cooking. Many people think, well, I salt my food anyway. But the difference between table salt and sea salt in cooking is like between synthetic and natural vitamin C. Yes, both contain ascorbic acid, but one is isolated, and the other is in combination with flavonoids, bioflavones, and other compounds that help assimilation. It's the same with salt. Table salt hits the taste sharply, simultaneously. Sea salt reveals itself gradually, first a light salinity, then a mineral depth. Therefore, it is better to add it at the end of cooking to preserve the crystals and their structure. For example, sprinkle a salad, fried vegetables, or boiled fish with a pinch of sea salt already on a plate. You will be surprised how much brighter the taste will become. Another favorite method of mine is a homemade salt body scrub. The skin begins to lose elasticity after 35, especially if you live in a dry climate or often use air conditioning and heaters. Sea salt scrub is not only an exfoliation, but also a mineral recharge. Mix 1/2 cup of fine sea salt with 1/4 cup of olive, coconut or almond oil. Add 5 to 7 drops of essential oil if desired. Lavender for relaxation, orange for vivacity. Apply to wet skin in the shower, massaging in circular movements. It works especially well on elbows, knees, and heels. Wash it off with warm water. Do this 1 to 2 times a week. The skin becomes softer, smoother, and, thanks to magnesium, less susceptible to inflammation. Many of my subscribers from Texas write that after such a scrub, the elbows that used to crack in winter stopped peeling. And do not forget, after the scrub, be sure to moisturize. Salt opens the pores and the skin absorbs the cream better. And now about the baths. This is perhaps the most well-known method, but also, honestly, the most underrated. It's not just pour salt and lie down, but really, do it consciously. The ideal bath? Use 1 to 2 cups of sea salt, preferably fine, so it dissolves faster, in warm, not hot, water. The temperature should be about 37 degrees Celsius, just like your body. Lie down for 20 to 30 minutes. It's best to do this in the evening, about an hour before bedtime. Why? Because the magnesium in salt helps relax your nervous system and your muscles. This is especially valuable for those of us who sit a lot, whether it's in the office or the car, suffer from back pain, or just can't seem to switch off after a long day. I do it myself once a week, and honestly, I sleep like a baby. And if you have joint problems, like osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, add 1/2 cup of baking soda to the bath. It really enhances the anti-inflammatory effect. But it's important, if you have open wounds, acute eczema, or skin infections, please refrain. And of course, do not take a bath if you have a fever or high blood pressure at the time of the attack. Another indispensable method is gargling for colds. Yes, it's as old as the world, but it really works. In a glass of warm water, dissolve 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. Gargle 3 to 4 times a day at the very first sign of pain or scratching in your throat. Salt creates a hypertonic environment where bacteria and viruses just can't reproduce. And those minerals? They actually accelerate the healing of the mucous membrane. This is especially true during the flu season here in the United States, from October to March. And, unlike antiseptic sprays, it doesn't dry out your throat. On the contrary, it actually moisturizes. My personal life hack: if I feel like I'm catching a cold, tickles and aches, I immediately start rinsing. And honestly, 8 times out of 10, the cold just recedes within 24 hours. And now about the nose and breathing. A lot of people use saline solutions to wash their nose, like with a neti pot. But not everyone really knows how to do it correctly. So take a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt and just a pinch of baking soda, which softens that burning sensation. Dissolve it in 1 cup of warm distilled or boiled water. Use a neti pot or a syringe. Do this in the morning or evening, especially if you suffer from allergies. Pollen in California is, honestly, a whole separate topic. Sinusitis, or just dry air in the house. This cleanses your nasal passages, reduces swelling, and lowers the risk of infections. The FDA, that's the US Food and Drug Administration, even recommends these procedures for chronic rhinitis. The main thing is to use clean water. Never use tap water without boiling it first, since it may contain microorganisms that are dangerous to your nasal sinuses. And here's what's interesting: sea salt can also help with digestion. After a hearty dinner, especially if you've had fatty or fried foods, try drinking a glass of warm water with just a pinch of sea salt. This actually stimulates the production of hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Yes, it sounds a little paradoxical, but salt really does help digest food. Many people after 40 complain of bloating, heaviness, and heartburn. And often the reason isn't too much acid, but actually a lack of it. The body tries to compensate and, well, the opposite effect happens. A small amount of salt in the morning or after a meal can help normalize the process. But if you have an ulcer or acute gastritis, please don't experiment without consulting a gastroenterologist. Now, about security. Yes, sea salt is healthy, but don't overdo it. The maximum daily dose for a healthy adult is 1 teaspoon, which is about 5 grams. This includes salt in food and drinks. If you are on a sodium-restricted diet, for example, on the recommendation of a cardiologist, stick to the limit set by your doctor. And remember, sea salt is not a cure for hypertension, diabetes, or arthritis. This is a support for the body, not a substitute for therapy. Unfortunately, in the USA, there are many cases when people refused medicines in favor of natural remedies, and this led to complications. Be wise. Use salt as an ally, not as a panacea. Another important point: storage. Store sea salt in a glass or ceramic jar with a tight lid. Not in plastic. Minerals can react with chemicals. And not near the stove. Moisture and heat degrade the quality. The ideal place is a kitchen cabinet, away from heat sources. And of course, choose a quality product. In the USA, good brands are Celtic Sea Salt, Redmond Real Salt, and Jacobsen Salt Co. They are extracted manually, are not cleaned with chemicals, and are certified as organic or additive-free. The price is higher than that of cheap salt, but you pay for the minerals, not the white powder. And now about emotions. Yes, you heard right. Many therapists in the United States use salt baths and salt rituals in dealing with anxiety and burnout. Why? Because minerals, especially magnesium, regulate the level of cortisol, the stress hormone. And the process of salt dissolving in water is a metaphor. Everything that is heavy, dissolves, goes away. This is not esotericism, but neurochemistry. When you lie in warm salt water, your body relaxes, your breathing slows down, and your brain goes into recovery mode. For Generation X, who grew up with the idea of being strong, this is especially important. Allow yourself 20 minutes a week to just lie down, breathe, and dissolve. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And finally, about detox, a word that makes you smile, and maybe even get a little annoyed today. But in fact, detox is just about supporting the liver and kidneys in their natural work, and sea salt can help. In the morning, on an empty stomach, a glass of warm water with lemon and a pinch of sea salt is a gentle stimulus for the lymphatic system. Not a panacea, but part of a healthy ritual. I've been starting like this every day for 5 years now. And honestly, I feel the difference. So friends, sea salt is not a fashion. It is an ancient, simple, affordable tool. Use it with respect, to yourself, to your body, and to the wisdom of your ancestors. And remember, health is not about extreme diets or expensive supplements. It's about taking small, honest steps every day. One of them is a pinch of salt in a glass of water. If you watched it to the end, thank you. It means you really want to change something in your life. Write in the comments, "I use sea salt," and tell us which method you will try first. Please like it if the video was useful. It helps others to find it. And subscribe. There are still many honest conversations ahead about how to live a better life. Without noise, without fear, just with common sense.